Y'all planning for this?
Welcome back, TPR Nation. This is Jamie Shalansky in an episode of Worlds to Conquer, and we are talking all things surge today. So over the last couple of weeks, we've got a lot of questions from you, financial advisors and team members out there in the registered investment advisory space that are looking for more information on how Shalansky and Associates and Jarvis Financial Services operate surge. So anytime we introduce a course like this and we go through a topic for several weeks, we get a flood of questions from people just like you emailing into lifestyle@theperfectria.com and wanting to know more specifics about a certain question. So I am super excited to go through 4 questions that we receive from financial advisors across the country and really dive into that, because I believe that if one person asks a question, then there's probably a handful of other people that have the exact same question. And since we speak to the entire country, as well as some places in Australia and New Zealand and the UK, we're going to really assume that there are many, many more people than just a few handfuls that have these same questions. All right, so let's unpack the first one when it comes to surge. Now, remember that surge is a dedicated time-blocked period in which you are doing nothing but being hyper-focused on meeting with clients and prospects. We do a surge schedule 3 times a year. We have the big spring surge, and that is mid-March to mid-April. Why do we do it then? Because it's tax season, and clients are really geared up in order to prepare for tax season by gathering all of their information, and you are most likely to get all the information you spend all year asking clients for in order to create their financial plan during tax season. There's a specific reason we use that time frame. Use it, implement it if you're thinking about surge. All right, second of all, we have mini surges, and those are sprinkled throughout the summertime. We live in Alaska, but it doesn't matter where you live. Most people are taking a lot of holidays during summertime, especially with kids out on summer break. So we sprinkle in different weeks, and we're also going to talk about the strategy of why we implement mini surge the way we do and how we've refined it over the years. Our last surge of the year happens in the fall, and that is mid-October to mid-November, right before the holidays. This is also specifically chosen and refined over time because this is when it provides the most amount of value to the clients that we're working with. Why does it provide value? Because as families come together and start gathering, they start really thinking about their legacy and what they're leaving behind, and grandchildren and weddings and divorce. And unfortunately, a lot of deaths tragically happen right around those holiday times as well. Okay, here's a great question we got from a financial advisor. And they said, Jamie, how do you handle prospects with a surge schedule? All right, let's dive into how we do it at Shalansky and Associates, because it's very strategic, it's intentional, and it's built on the premise of supply and demand. All right, so every single year, if you're a financial advisor working with Shalansky and Associates, and yes, we are actively hiring the right financial advisors. So if you're a financial advisor working with Shalansky and Associates, what we'll do is a lot of goal setting and goal planning for the next year. And we want to go ahead and target how many new financial planning clients you want to bring on as a financial advisor. Now, this begs the question, how many clients should you have? Well, at Shalansky and Associates, we genuinely do comprehensive financial planning, not just flippantly. We don't say we do this and not dive into every area of a client's finance. We actually do all the areas of a client's finance. If it involves money, one of the things that Floyd will often tell his clients is, I want to be your 911. You have an emergency, you pick up the phone, you call me. I want to be your 411. If you have a financial question, you call me. I'm not omnipotent. I'm not going to have all the answers, but I guarantee I probably have more connections in the financial world than you do. So you call me and I'll point you in the right direction or give you some advice. And because we work with this many people, we believe that 100 to 150 financial planning clients, full-time financial planning clients clients is an ideal number for us. And that works for us because we want to know every single one of our clients. We want to recognize them by face and know their name, know their story, know about their kids. And we know from years of practice that when those numbers start tipping into 200, 300, 400, everyone just gets blurry. And we really only know a handful of our clients at that time. So for us at Shalansky & Associates, it's really important that we concentrate on having a book full of ideal clients. And we want to keep that really close to 100 to 150 and trim the rest as needed. So when we are looking in the years ahead, we want to see how close are we to having that fulfilled book of business. Now, we believe that if you're not growing, you are dying, which means that you also have to occasionally, even if you do have a full book of business, bring on additional clients because you're going to have attrition. You're going to have people die or divorce or get moved away and your business no longer fits their model. Or maybe you got around to finally letting that one client who you dread seeing on your calendar every single surge. So with that in mind, how do we plan out our prospects for the upcoming year? So if I have a financial advisor that began working with us and they say, Jamie, I want to bring on 10 additional financial planning clients. And I say, great. What we do is we statistically go backwards. We look at how many clients that you've met with, and out of those clients, how many were your ideal ones that you wanted to work with and ended up closing. Now, there's some clarity behind this definition that I want to make really, really sure you understand. Just because a person, a prospect, can fog a mirror does not mean they are an ideal client. We need to listen to our gut instincts in the financial advisory space and know when it is not an ideal fit. I have never once met with a financial advisor who ended up in either litigation or a massive regulation complaint with a client that didn't tell me, I knew I shouldn't have had them on as a client. I knew that I was getting into a place I didn't want to be with this particular person. We didn't communicate well. They weren't listening to advice. And now I have a complaint. Now I have a lawsuit. Now my license is in jeopardy because I didn't let go of this client when I should have. I should have never brought them on. You need to listen to your gut instinct. Listen to those red flags. If you think somebody's not going to be an ideal fit when you're meeting with them as a prospect, then save yourself the burden of having to graduate them later in your financial planning relationship. How does this impact our closing ratios? Real simple. We don't pitch every time someone comes up to bat. We just don't do it. We sit down and have a conversation. We are paid for our prospect initial consultations in which we will answer all of your questions to the best of our ability. And that's a really great opportunity for us to deliver incredible, massive value to that prospect that has been searching and scouring the internet for answers. And then also a good opportunity for us to feel that prospect out and make sure our values are aligned. And if I'm halfway, midway, or all the way through a prospect meeting and I know that person's not going to be a good fit, I don't pitch them. I don't ask them to continue to work with us, and neither do any of the other financial advisors in our office. This is a really hard concept for most financial advisors. Just because somebody needs your help and just because you are able to help them does not always mean you should help them. Listen for those red flags. Listen to your gut instincts and make sure you don't onboard every single prospect. So any prospect that you did want to onboard goes to on your closing ratio. And then we take that the next year and we look at how many prospects we have to go ahead and fill on your calendar in order for you to hit your ideal target. So how do we handle prospects during surge? One of the hacks that I like to use for my team is that we will open up our calendar and every single available appointment time is marked as open for client meeting or open for prospect meeting. Why do I do this? I do this very intentionally mid-March through mid-April because we have specific times that we want allotted to meet with clients. And so I take the guesswork out of it for our relationship managers. If I'm driving into Anchorage, I pick Floyd Chalansky up from his house and we drive into our Anchorage office, and our first appointment begins at 9 a.m. and our last appointment ends at 4 p.m. If I want 1 hour blocks, I put those inside of there. Now, on the days that we are doing our remote or virtual appointments, I can stack that calendar a lot tighter and we can really powerhouse. Floyd and I can do 9 to 11 appointments a day in those particular periods. So when that happens, I take the guesswork out of it for our relationship managers. I design what my ideal week looks like, and I make sure that they go put those open for prospect appointments or open for client appointments. Can a prospect take a client appointment that is open? If it's not already scheduled for a client, absolutely. But what that means for my relationship manager is now they have to go change one of the prospect days to a client day. So when I'm designing my surge in the years before, I really want to look at my numbers and make sure I have my statistics up in front of me so that I have exactly as many appointment slots on my calendar as there are for clients and prospects that I want to see. Now, this kind of leads me into the second question that I got from a financial advisor. And they said, what do you do about no-show or appointments that have to reschedule? Now, at Shalansky & Associates, we do not get a lot of no-show appointments, mostly because our clients are already in tune with the fact that it takes a very long time to get on our schedules. And so they're really good about confirming and staying with that appointment day. Now, occasionally we will have to have a reschedule. Somebody can't get off of work. They've got the grandkids. Something ends up happening in which they need to reschedule that appointment. So our relationship managers are going to work with them. And here's a hack that we have learned that's been very successful for us. And that is that we have a couple of buffer days at the end of surge. So at the end of surge, I might have 1 or 2 mornings that I block out and make available as buffer days. These are spillover days, and I label them buffer days on my calendar. And the reason I label them buffer days is because if I put in appointment slots that say open for appointment, open for prospect, guess what my relationship managers are going to do? Yes, they are going to fill those appointments. That is what they're a hammer and a nail when it comes to that calendar. So whatever I show them as availability, they are going to plug in for that particular person. And they're the ones having the tough conversations, negotiating the calendar and playing the calendar game when prospects and clients alike call in. And so if they see an open date, they're going to take that open time. So I like to call these buffer days. And I have 1 or 2, generally just a morning, because I generally only need a half a day, because I might have 2 or 3 relationships that spill over and need these buffer days. So what do I use a buffer day for? I use it for a rescheduled appointment. I use it for a second meeting with a client or prospect that has to get in for some critical reason. And sometimes we do meet with one client 2 times during a surge. And that depends situationally what's happening in their lives. Maybe it's a brand new client that we onboarded at the beginning of surge, and I want to have that second meeting so we can really unpack a lot of that information before we go into the mini surge periods. So there's a little bit of flexibility in that buffer day. Pro tip, like I said, do it just like I do with my calendar. Label it a buffer day, block it out so that you mentally know you could still be in surge those 2 days, but don't open it up for your RMs unless they come to you and specifically ask for that time period to be open. Now, I would love to tell you that our surge schedule is absolutely flawless and we never have any mistakes. But even now, even during this surge period going into the spring, we realized that the relationship managers needed an extra 3 days of appointments for people that they couldn't otherwise get in on any other day. Our calendar was full and we had 3 days worth of appointments that they needed to add to the surge. So we still end up with some errors and we still have to go back and fix those. Now, how could this have been avoided? This could have been avoided by us sitting down and having a pre-surge meeting and making sure that we had 2 people in charge of the calendar for those relationship managers. 1, the person scheduling, and 2nd, the person auditing the schedule. So you take a list of all the clients plus the open prospects appointments that you want to have, and then you need somebody to physically go through the calendar and check mark that everyone is in for their appointment. Otherwise, you're going to find that you have a lot of clients that had not been contacted, had not been scheduled, and now you're needing to prolong your surge. What gets weighed gets measured. And that's super important no matter where you're at with the practice. We've been doing surge for decades and refining it every single time. And we still notice these tiny little fundamental errors if we're not paying attention to them. Luckily, we noticed this error way ahead of time and we're able to course correct with our relationship managers. But don't just assume that you said, hey, I want 100 people or I have 100 appointment slots and I want to put 100 people on my schedule, and that the relationship managers will just get those done. You still have to audit this. You still have to have somebody else double checking the work that they're doing. Or as I like to say, I'm no better editor than the moment I click send. Once I've clicked send, I see all of my grammatical errors blatantly across the screen. So this is the same application here. Always have somebody kind of cross-checking and auditing. But but the person that's scheduling the appointment cannot be the person that's auditing the calendar. You need those to be different people for a specific reason. Okay, so how do we do mini surges at Schlansky & Associates? A mini surge is where we take 1 week a month and we dedicate to client appointments. Now, we used to do the summer surge in a big time blocked period, but what we found is a couple of things were happening. One, the relationship managers didn't know how to handle it very well if clients called in and couldn't get in for a few months at a time. Second of all, our financial advisors got a little twitchy. Everyone thinks they like time off, but then all of a sudden you want to have a purpose, you want to be able to connect with clients, and they want to be able to making those connections. The third reason is that our clients were oftentimes gone during whenever the surge is that they wanted to schedule, because they're taking holiday and vacation as well during those summer months. So what we do instead is we break our surge out over the summer and we dedicate 3 to 4 days, one time a month, in which we are top heavy. So we try to schedule all the appointments in the morning time and leave the afternoons open. And we do a mini surge and we get those clients in that maybe no-show during their regular surge. We get those prospects in that now we need to kind of advance that financial plan because we're in that first year planning with them. And we don't want several months to go by before we implement a design or an idea. And then we've also removed the burden from our relationship managers of not understanding or knowing when they're supposed to next get clients in. So this was really advantageous. It took a long time for us to finesse it, but I think we have it dialed down and really, really good. Of course, we run an enterprise office. So maybe if you're a solo practitioner, you don't need to do this once a month. You can kind of stagger it for every 6 weeks during that summertime. And that might be super advantageous for you. In our enterprise model, even during the summer surges, when we do these mini surges is what we call them. When I surge, you surge, we surge. We all surge at the same time. So I cannot have a financial advisor tell me, hey, Jamie, I really want to do the first week of the month. And then another financial advisor say, hey, Jamie, I'd really love to do the third week. In fact, financial advisors don't get to weigh in on the surge schedule. It's set out a year in advance by the leadership team because we cannot make decisions by committee. There are things that we need financial advisors in the office to weigh in on. This is not one of them. I do not want to play the calendar game around every T-ball practice, every fishing event, every golfing event you have scheduled. So instead, we come up with this design schedule that says these are when the mini surges are. You get a lot of flexibility in your life, but this is when you are supposed to be meeting with clients, meeting with prospects, and available for those meetings. What I absolutely hands down love about the Perfect RIA is that it has really started to mushroom across the country and have all of these people pop up and these financial advisors raising their hand and saying, hold on a second, Jamie, I have some head trash. I've really got a mental block against this surge thing. Can you help me walk through this? So head trash are all of those reasons in your mind that something will not work. They're all the reasons that all of our clients are going to leave us. We're going to be broke and living in a van down by the river. And oftentimes when we exploit what that head trash is, none of it is true. That's why it's head trash. And you have to take out the head trash. On my desk, I keep a piece of paper. And if I've got head trash going on, I'll write it down on that piece of paper. I'll walk through the scenarios. I'll exploit all the possibilities in my mind. And then I'll start problem solving it. Why? Because I'm a financial advisor and I am a problem solver. That is what I do. And that is probably what you do. You are probably the type of person that most of your friends come to for advice when they need to figure something out. And so if you have head trash, if you need to figure something out and your advice is good enough for the clients and prospects and friends and centers of influences that you work with, why isn't it good enough for you? Financial advisors are the most self-loathing group of professionals that I have ever met. We think that the problem solving and the planning is relatively easy because it's not manual labor, and we make a lot of money doing it in this profession. And therefore, we discredit every piece of advice that we ever give anyone, and we undercharge prospects and clients. We give advice away for free, and then we fail to take our own advice. We don't listen to our own advice that we would tell other people to do. And that all goes back because we have head trash. And it just like in your house with the refuse bin, if you aren't regularly taking out the trash, then why are you surprised when your entire house stinks? You are in control of this. Now, one of the expressions that I just heard and I absolutely love, I loved it so much that I made my spouse and my son listen to it. And it came to me from my niece. And this was amazing. The internet does some awful things, but it does some beautiful things too. And so I want to go on a tangent real quick and tell you that if you are an adult and you're instrumental in another person's life, and this could be a spouse, this could be a partner, this could be a daughter or a son or a niece or a nephew or a grandkid, or maybe you volunteer with foster kids. Maybe you're a Girl Scout or a Boy Scout leader, and you're oftentimes wondering to yourself, does it really make a dent? I keep giving this piece of information to these young minds and they roll their eyes, they blow me off, they ignore it, they say I'm out of touch, all of those kind of things. That is your head trash, because they are children who do not know how to be grateful for the advice that you are giving them. However, they are listening. They are impressionable. They are soaking it in no matter what their bodily expressions tell you. It doesn't matter if you think that they are ignoring you. Behaviorally, that's just a time period of their life that they're in. But the more advice and the more information and the more impact that you can readily have on their lives, it will make a difference. My niece, Jaslyn, was the biggest example of this for me, because when it comes to raising teenage girls, my goodness, is it difficult, because when they reach age 12, there is nothing that they don't already know. And in most cases, they're probably right. They probably know a lot more than we do, because they're incredibly intelligent. They're incredibly acutely aware of behavioral differences and nuances. They're skilled in negotiation, and they're tactful. When it comes to the difference between raising little girls and little boys, I always tell people that little girls take a whole hell of a lot of mental energy, and little boys take a lot of physical energy. You'll probably die of a heart attack keeping them occupied, but at least nothing mentally will be stressing you out. So I would inundate my niece Jaslyn with all of these behavioral messages, positive reinforcements, different scenarios and metaphors, and really trying to make a dent in her life. And she was the queen of rolling her eyes, being silent, and what I thought was blowing me off. But recently, she, as a mom now in her late 20s, has started sending me little inspirational messages back and said, hey, I heard this and I thought you would really like it. It kind of reminded me of when you taught me this. And so the times I thought she was never, ever, ever listening to me, she was. And if it's true for me, it's going to be true for you. So if you have people who you are influential in their life, but maybe you're not sure how influential you are, don't stop. Do not give up. Keep surrounding people with the possibility of living up to their fullest potential and being incredible. So in this video that my niece sent me, it was a gentleman, he was a young guy talking about thoughts. And he said, listen, your thoughts are kind of like waves in the ocean. Nothing you can do can stop those thoughts from coming. But if you surf, you get to make a decision. You get to choose which thoughts you follow. You get to choose which waves you follow to shore. And that really put it in perspective to me. And I made my spouse and I made my son listen to this, because how many times have we thought about these terrible, degrading, detrimental thoughts that enter our brain, and we're like, where did this even come from? Why am I thinking this way? And that is all the head trash. And so if we write down those head trash, if we write down what those wave thoughts are, then we can really give life and purpose to the thoughts we want to follow. We can take that head trash out and we can focus on living up to the potential that our Creator has bestowed upon us to do. So when somebody reached out from the TPR Nation and they said, Jamie, I got a lot of head trash. I'm really worried about implementing Surge because I'm afraid that my clients are going to tell me I'm going to stop doing business with you because I can never get a hold of you. If they're calling on the phone and I'm not immediately available, and if they're working with my relationship manager to get on the schedule and I'm weeks or months out, I'm not going to have any more clients. That's not the level of service that they're used to. That is head trash. And I get it. It took a long time for us to implement the Surge schedule that we have now because we had that same head trash. Remember what I shared with you? Floyd said, I want to be your 911 and 411. Well, that makes it sound like there's a level of accessibility that means he's going to always be in the office, that he's always going to be available. And that is perception versus reality. How many client emergencies do your clients genuinely have? Have you defined what those emergencies are? We do. We sit down with our entire team firm-wide and we define what an emergency is. An emergency is death. Emergency is disability. Emergency is litigation. Emergency is divorce. We have these big life monumental moments that define what an emergency is, so our team knows when they can pull the ripcord and that we get the client on the phone with the financial advisor right away. How many times are those things happening in your practice? Unless you're super unlucky and have a bunch of clients that are getting divorced, going through a lawsuit, and are impending death, it probably does not happen that frequently in your practice. Now, if clients have questions, fabulous. Ask as many questions as you want. But how many questions do clients have that pertain to financial advice? How many times a year are they coming to you and needing some specific financial advice outside of a surge? Does it happen? Yes, 100%. Does it happen as much as you think it does? Probably not. Most of the questions that come into our office, they can go to the operations department who's responsible for the movement of money with the instructions that the financial advisor has on file, or they can go to the relationship manager who handles almost all of the logistical questions a client may have. Can I get a copy of a tax return? Can you reach out to my CPA? I have an address update. Can you give me your fax number? And yes, we still have clients that fax. So all of those questions don't need the financial advisor. Now, what about the ones that do? Well, then we have rules of escalation, and then they're able to get a hold of us. But now reflect on your book of business and how many clients are emailing you versus calling you and wanting to come in for an appointment. There's probably a big disparity between those two. So if clients are emailing you, one precedent that we make sure that we set with all of our clients is that oftentimes we are in meeting or we're doing strategic things, which means we are not living, breathing, and dying by our email inbox. So if you email me, I have a dedicated day on my calendar that I go through my email, but I don't check my email every single day, and I certainly don't do it every single hour. And we set this tone and this impression with the client when they onboard. Now, if you're thinking, oh my goodness, that'll never work. If a client emails me, I have to respond to them within the same hour, if not the same day. Ask yourself how many times you have emailed your neurologist, oncologist, pediatrician, or just general practitioner and got a same hour, same day response. It doesn't happen. Why doesn't it happen? Because doctors have not set the precedence that they are going to be immediately and readily available for their clients. Financial advisors wait in suspended states of perpetual worry that they're not going to be immediately available for clients that are most likely not thinking about you at the moment. Because when a client leaves our office, guess what? They have lives and jobs and kids and vacations and all of these other aspects of their life that they're contending with, even though they're predominantly always on your mind as the financial advisor. So one of the things that I often tell prospects, and I reiterate with clients over and over again until they're sick of hearing it, is that when you onboard with Shalansky and Associates, you have unlimited access to our team. Hear what I just said. When you onboard with Shalansky and Associates, you have unlimited access to our team. If you need something, we hire, train the best professionals in the industry, and they will make sure that you are taken care of. If it falls outside of their area of expertise and it's regarding financial advice, they're going to tag me in. And when they do that, we're going to make sure we get back to you in a strategic manner. And I have never once had a client tell me that's unacceptable. I've never once had a client tell me, no, I need a same moment response. I need a same hour response. I need a same day response. What they want to do is be heard. And so we have to allow people the opportunity to be heard and to know that There are more people than just Jamie Shalansky at Shalansky & Associates. We have an entire team dedicated to making sure we deliver massive value to clients, but I can't keep interfering with that process. If I think I am the only person in the entire firm that can take care of the client, then I'm never going to be able to grow, because I will always be at the beck and call of one or two clients, because that's who we're prioritizing. We're prioritizing the one or two clients that abuse your time, abuse the access privilege, and expect immediate responses. If you look at the majority of your clients, that's not the standard. That is the exception that you have made because you have not set better expectations. Do we never see clients outside of surges or mini surges? No, come on, that's not true. We've got our fundraising events. We've got our client events. We have social events. We go to dinner. A lot of our clients, over half of our book of business is outside in the lower 48. Some of them come up to Alaska on a cruise or maybe in town to visit family, and they want to get together and have dinner or drinks or something like that. Absolutely. We're going to do that every single time that they ask. But those are exceptions. Those aren't the standards. Those aren't the normalcies that end up happening. TPR Nation, we have been talking about surge nonstop this last month. I surge, you surge, we surge. Is this your first surge? Is this your second surge? What have you implemented that blew up in your face and you need help refining? What did you implement that you thought was going to be a disaster but ended up being a huge success? You need to tag us on all social media platforms and let us know. LinkedIn is where Matt and Micah live most of their space on. I'm never on social, but you can email into lifestyle@theperfectria.com. We want to hear about the questions that you have, just like these 4 questions that I received from financial advisors across the country. We want to tackle those and say, great, absolutely. Let's start diving into how do we work with them? And maybe there's problems we don't know the answers to, but we're developing and creating the most dynamic and powerful group of financial advisors that want transparency. They want to be able to deliver massive value. They want to spend more time with the family outside of the office, and they want to be profitable in the process. And when that happens, when you find those people, there's no topic that we can't unpack, address, and come up with solutions for, because we're planners. That's what we do. We are problem solvers. So today we hit 4 burning questions from people, and that was, Jamie, how do we handle prospects during surge times? What about no-shows and reschedules? What about mini surges? How do those look and what do they look like? Client feedback. I can't get a hold of you. I'm super scared to implement surge because I think my clients are going to leave me. So as you know, everything that we do at the Perfect RIA, what makes this appropriate for every financial advisor and their team members is that we give you actionable steps that you can take right now to implement into your office and make your office a perfect RIA. The Perfect RIA, our company, is in search of perfection, and you can be in that search along with us. We want more and more members that share this dedication, this passion to refining financial planning to deliver massive value to clients. So here's the action steps that you can take right now. 1, if you don't already have how many prospects that you want to, or new clients you want to onboard this year, you need to back into that math. Look at your closing ratio. Get your ego out of the way. Do not make excuses for why it is or isn't a certain way. It is what it is. So get those prospects on your list. Go through the calendar. Action item number 2, go through your calendar and make sure that you have open for clients and open for prospects. Whoever is scheduling cannot audit the calendar. Learn from our mistake here. Have another person audit that calendar to make sure that you are, 1, honoring your commitment to see all of your clients. Second of all, that you are also incorporating enough prospect appointments to hit your annual goals. Third action item you can take right now, mini surges. How many times, and for the mini surge, work with your team. We sat down and talked to our team because we used to do mini surges a lot more efficiently for us as financial advisors versus this start-stop motion. But when we went back and talked to our team members, and that was the financial advisors that we onboard that aren't Jamie, Floyd, and Micah, as well as our relationship managers and our operations team, they said, listen, I think this is too far stretched out. We got to have these mini days where we know we can get back to clients. Okay, no problem. Let's adapt those. So we started sprinkling in mini surge periods, and everyone is on the same schedule. Listen to the feedback of your team. Work with your team. Now, does that mean you're going to rule by committee and everyone gets to weigh in when surges are happening? Absolutely not. That's a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. But do I get to sit down with my team and I said, okay, listen, if I made an appointment every week, would you feel good? Yeah, but I don't think I really need that. Okay, what about every 2 weeks? Yeah, I don't think we need that either. Okay, what about every 4 weeks? Yeah, if we did it every 4 weeks, I knew that I could get a client on your calendar. I think that would make my job a lot easier. Fantastic, easy, done. Your team understands the needs and wants and desires of your clients maybe better than you do. However, your team has head trash too, and they're afraid of disappointing someone or making them upset. So sit down and have these conversations. Sit down collectively and figure out what this looks like from a 360-foot view perspective. And then you, as the steward of your organization, really dial it down strategically and figure out what it needs to be. Never forget how privileged and blessed we are to do the work that we are doing. There are two aspects of a person's life that they're predominantly and always thinking about. And one is their health, how they're feeling that day, if they're feeling overweight or underweight or nourished or malnourished, run down, energetic, if they're battling some disease that's going on in their life. And then second of all, and perhaps even more than their health, they're often thinking about money because money is an exchange of value. Money drives most of the decisions we make as consumers, where we vacation, what jobs we take, where we choose to eat out. Being able to steward and guide and offer a sounding board for people across the country when it comes to their personal finances is a noble and honorable profession, and we need to start treating it that way. And that means we have to treat ourselves better. We have to take out the head trash, and we have to remove our ego and come at it with humility and grace and acceptance and drive to be the financial advisor we want to be so that we can radically change lives. TPR Nation, this is Jamie Shalansky in an episode of Worlds to Conquer. Find people who share your values and go change the world.
Hold on before we go. Something that you need to know. This isn't tax, legal, or investment advice. That isn't our intent. Information designed to change lives. Financial planning can make you thrive. Start today, don't think twice. Be a better husband, father, mother, and wife.